Guys, James Carter TV continuing my 2016 NFL draft recaps. There's only 12 teams to go, and man, I'm starting to become envious of CBS and ESPN that have all these employees and they can dedicate this employee to do this team and everybody gets their own team and it's no problem because, man, going through this was a lot harder than I thought it would be, but with that said, we are going to keep going, and today we are going to talk about the San Diego Superchargers. And I did add super because even though this team did go 4-12 this past season, I think this is a draft that could get the Chargers back on the right track for not only this season, but for years in the future, because Philip Rivers is getting up there in age. Now, he's not too old. He's not in that Tom Brady, Peyton Manning range where, yeah, they're done in 1 year. But, you know, Philip Rivers, I'd say 4, 5. And you want to believe that you have players that will stick around. And you want to believe that these players can sign on for second contracts and lead you into that post-Philip Rivers era. Whoever will be coaching that era, wherever that era might be, because it may not be in San Diego. And I think that they've done that here because I like this San Diego Chargers draft a lot more than most. I think Tom Telesco really did a good job here, and they start with their first pick, the number 3 pick in the 2016 NFL draft, defensive end Joey Bosa. And I have to commend Mike McCoy, Tom Telesco, and that whole Chargers front office for keeping this pick under wraps for as long as they did. I mean, not even for as long as they just kept it under wraps. I mean, when the pick was announced, this was the first time we were really hearing Joey Bosa to the Chargers in any sort of format whatsoever. I mean, maybe if you went back to December or January, you may have seen a mock draft or two with this being the case. But since then, no one has even considered this. We've considered Miles Jack being a safety for them. We've considered Jalen Ramsey. We've considered all kinds of players, but this is who they finally decided on, and I say good. I am not one of these people that have jumped off the Joey Bosa train. I'm still on it, and hell, I might be the damn conductor because everyone's gone. They're saying he sucks, he's overrated, he's not going to do much in the NFL. I'm still on the train. Now, I don't think he was the best prospect in this draft. I think he was number 2, behind Jalen Ramsey, who I do think you should have still drafted here. So because of that, I do give this pick only an A-. But this is a guy that still, I don't care, he only had 6 sacks in 2015. I turned on the tape and I could see production consistently being a force on the defensive line, giving offensive tackles and opposing teams absolute hell. For all this stuff people like talk about Joey Bosa, he was still an absolute force on the football field, someone that you need to account for, someone that possesses really good athletic ability, and now they're saying they're going to play him at 3-4 defensive end. Personally, I disagree. I wouldn't do it. I would stand him up. I think he's fluid enough. I saw it at the combine. I saw it at his pro day. I think he's fluid enough to play outside linebacker. They're sitting him down. They're putting his hand down. They're letting him be a 3-4 defensive end. I think that limits his value, but I still think at the end of the day, this will be a good player for the San Diego Chargers, maybe even a great player. He's not going to be J.J. Watt like a lot of people might expect him to be, but he will be a force to be reckoned with, and we will look back and we will say this was a good pick, although they should have picked Jalen Ramsey. It gets an A- for me. We move on to the second round. Hunter Henry, the tight end out of Arkansas. Really like this pick. You lost to Ladarius Green in free agency. He went to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and he never really maximized his potential with you guys anyway. Input Hunter Henry, who I think will maximize his potential from day one. This is a guy that's standing at a great frame of 6'5", 250 pounds. A guy that really didn't run at the combine because he had some injury issues, but went to the pro day and ran a 4.6, 640, which would have been the fastest 40 for any of the tight ends that were at the combine. Possesses good leaping ability, is a really good blocker who will hopefully open up holes for Melvin Gordon to finally get his first rushing touchdown, because we can't believe he hasn't gotten that yet. A guy that is going to be a force, and teaming him up with Philip Rivers, who knows how to use the tight end position, juxtaposing him with Antonio Gates. I love this pick. I give it an A- only because It was a little bit of a reach, just a tiny bit, not much, but just a little bit. And maybe you should have just sat here and I think taken, because at this point, I think Miles Jack was still on the board, and you may regret passing up on him. We move on to the third round, 66th pick overall. Center Max Tuerk out of USC, and he is one of these Polynesian kids that I love because they win with their minds. They look at the situation in front of them, and they always are taking things in, and they win a lot with their football intelligence before their athleticism. And he does have some nice athleticism and power, though, and let's not doubt that. He probably going to need to put on a little bit of size. I think he may struggle with some bigger nose tackles, moving them out of the way. But in terms of center potential, I mean, you're talking about a guy that was probably going to be a first-round pick before his injury. He had I believe it was a knee injury or some injury that kept him out in October onward, even up to the combine and everything. So that's a little bit of question mark. But again, I think you found a starter here and a guy that you've been looking for since Nick Hardwick left the door. I give it an A-. 3 straight A- for the Chargers. Not perfect, but damn good. We move on to the fourth round. This is where things really took a bad turn. Now, this one isn't bad, but we have inside linebacker, I presume, Joshua Perry out of Ohio State. Now, I presume because they're saying they're going to put him inside linebacker. I like his fit more as an outside linebacker. With that said, he didn't do much as an outside linebacker in a 4-3 at Ohio State. Now, again, this is a 4-3, so he was a strong side outside linebacker. His pass rush ability isn't great, but I don't think his coverage ability as an inside linebacker is either. He's kind of a throwback guy, a guy that really does well against the run, but is kind of running out of form in the NFL. 254 pounds. He's 6'4". He has the build of an outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme. So I wonder if he's even going to stay at this slot. He's a little bit of a throwback. I don't love the pick here. I give it a C+. I didn't like that one. And then we move on to this, and I really don't like this one. We have inside linebacker, who I can't even believe is an inside linebacker, Jatavis Brown out of Akron. I hate this pick. You're looking at a guy that's 5'11", 227 pounds. He's a strong safety. That's where he is. You just told me the build of a strong safety, and a pretty big one, but a strong safety nonetheless. He's not big enough. You played at Akron, so you're expecting him to go from that level of talent at that size to the NFL level of talent. His instincts aren't great. I looked at the film. Nothing stood out at me. He's not a great athlete. He's a fine athlete, but taking a guy that's 5'11" in the 5th round from Akron, don't love that at all. I give it a D+. We move on. 6th round punter Drew Kaser out of Texas A&M. This guy has an absolute leg. I mean, this guy can boot the ball as far as they come. You wish it had a little bit more hang time, but he does a good job at that. A lot of his kicks inside the 20, about 30%. Like hearing that. Problem is, did you really need a punter in the 6th round? You can take one. It's fine, you can take one. But my question is this. You still have, to me, a need at tackle. Yes, King Dunlap is coming back, but do you really trust King Dunlap to be your tackle for years to come? I think you should have gotten a tackle here, especially if he gets injured again, a backup tackle that can come in and play football games for you. I didn't like neglecting that here again. I let it go in the 3rd round because you needed a center anyway. I let it go in the 4th, but in the 5th, in the 6th, you're still ignoring this need at tackle. You need a reserve tackle. You need one, and they didn't get one yet. And again, safety. Strong and free safety. Now, I know you believe that DeJuan Landry, wait, which Landry do you guys have? Or is it even Landry? The guy you guys signed from the Colts, can't remember his name right now. Oh, he picked off Marcus Mariota in week 4. I can't remember that kid's name. But you know who I'm talking about. The Colts safety you guys signed. Is he going to come in and is he going to be a great free safety for you? A guy that you look at and say, oh, this guy's our free safety for years to come. I don't know. I think he's a spot starter, so you still could have doubled down as safety. Strong safety, Jaleel Adai. Do you trust him yet again to be a good, strong safety at the NFL level? I don't. So neglecting safety and tackle to take a punter, I think he can be a starting punter, though. I do believe, okay, Mike Cyphers, you don't love him. This guy can come in and compete. C, but you're still neglecting needs. I give it only a B. Then we move on and you take a fullback. Fullback Derek Watt out of Wisconsin. Now, I like this pick in terms of logistically more than the punter, because I think Derek Watt has a place here. Remember, this is a guy that blocked for your guy, Melvin Gordon. I mean, this is Melvin Gordon's fullback, the guy that opened up holes for Melvin Gordon at Wisconsin. Derek Watt also has a nice ability to catch some balls out of the backfield. A little bit of a guy that needs to work on his catching techniques in terms of he likes to be a stomach catcher, but that's fine. But a guy that I think can, in terms of play action plays, you have your two tight end set with Hunter Henry and Antonio Gates, and you sneak this guy out. He may be able to catch something in the backfield like a Vontae Leach was able to do for you guys. And also, it was Vontae Leach, right? That was the fullback you guys used to have. I think that was him, or maybe it was the other guy. I'm forgetting his name right now. But anyway, that type of guy that you guys have been missing for a while, not a huge part of your offense, but part of it. And in part that Phillip Rivers, I think, misses. So I think you get it here. I give it a B. We move on to offensive guard Donavan Clark. Okay, so you took an offensive lineman. Okay, in the 7th round, a little late, but fine. Now, didn't take a very good one. A guy has poor technique right now. He's pretty good in terms of laterally moving side to side, making up for ground, but he's going to have to work on his technique. But I do like the idea of taking a guard here. Don't love the player, though. I only give it a B-. But when you put in all these grades into my GPA calculator, it spits back out a weighted GPA. Remember, this is a weighted GPA where the first couple of rounds weigh much more heavily than the later rounds. A GPA of 3.40 out of 4, which equates to a B+. And really, I think here's what's going to happen. Remember, when you come back to watch this video, you're going to say, look, this was an A draft. Look me, I'm telling you, Joey Bosa is going to be a really good player. Hunter Henry is going to be a really good player. And Max Tuerk is going to be a really good player. But the problem is, from there, I don't think you're going to get much. So even though Hunter Henry may make Pro Bowls, and I think that's a very viable possibility, Max Tuerk may make Pro Bowls, I think that's a very viable possibility, I don't think you got pretty much anything. Maybe a starter, a punter, and fullback. I think probably a starter, a punter, and fullback. But tackle, safety, where are those picks? And that's what prevents it from being an A- or an A for me. And it did limit this draft a little bit for me. But overall, again, a good draft. A draft where they found 3 starters, potential Pro Bowlers, and that's something that San Diego Chargers desperately need, and I think they got it here. Until next time, James Carter TV, I'm out. Peace.